Hi YouTube, welcome to another Switch Fix. So, you might notice the audio is a little bit different this time, and that's because I decided to do narration after the fact instead of live. I think it might be better this way. But anyway, about the Switch, so I got it in, and it has a mangled USB-C port. You see that? I could hardly even see any pins, let alone, like, the plastic in there that's supposed to hold it in. So we're going to disassemble the Switch and make our way in, start the repair. So there's no water damage, which is good. We just have the USB-C port to repair. So about the narration thing, the only thing I don't like is that you won't be getting my live reaction to stuff, but I kind of think it's better this way in the end because I don't know, I kind of have trouble articulating my thoughts and getting my words out the way I want them to get out whenever I'm doing it live, because I'm trying to think, what can I do to fix this thing, and what are my next steps, and then I'm also trying to think of how I'm going to word this for you guys, and so I just think it's better to do it like this. You see the wiggle in that port? It's so you have the mounting planes, the four grounds that hold onto the board, and then you have that little part that was wiggling, and that's actually like where the USB-C port goes in, and I've never seen that break off from the actual port. So this is by far the worst USB-C port I've ever done in my life. Not in terms of difficulty, it ended up being all right, but just in terms of like how mangled this thing was, it was wild. So we're gonna go ahead and take it off. Take off the port. Lay down some flux first. Amtech. And then use my hot air. Well, actually, first I put down some low melt solder, so that way I didn't take as much heat to start to melt the solder. Whenever you lay down the low melt stuff, you don't have to completely remove the old solder. You can just kind of blend it in, and with some chemical mixing that's going on, it makes the melting point of it much lower, so it's a lot easier to get off, especially for ground planes, big ground planes like what the USB-C port has up near those pins. You see those two big ones up and down, like on the very bottom of that row of pins, the two columns of pins, one at the bottom, one at the top. It's especially important to put that low melt solder in there. So here I'm just fighting with the microscope trying to get the lens right. I still haven't gotten the Barlow lens correct. I have one Barlow lens, and it's not seeing like through the eyepieces what's being displayed on the camera, if you get what I mean. So the camera sees something different from what I see through my eyepieces, and it's something to do with the Barlow lens. Something like 0.5 magnification is too much of a difference for the eyepiece versus the camera. I don't know, I'll have to do some research. I think I've said that a few times in a few videos. I don't know. It's not really that important right now, I guess. So this is my last USB-C port, my last fresh one. So I was really hoping this would go well, that I wouldn't apply too much heat, because if you put too much heat, the plastic inside the connector will start to melt, and then there go your pins. So put it on. I thought all was good, but I didn't check the USB-C port before I put it on, and sometimes from the factory they get like little pieces of plastic. You might be able to see there in that shot. Not really, but there's little pieces of plastic that sometimes get lodged into the port, and unfortunately I didn't check it, so I put in the connector, or I put in the cord, and the piece of plastic kind of like lodges itself further and bends some pins, and kind of bends the plastic out of the way itself too, which was glorious. So my last port went bye-bye. So here I was See, what am I doing here? I think this is still the old port. Yeah. No, this is okay. So this is the new port. You can see it's taken 1.2423 volt or amps there. I put in a new port. I harvested one from another switch, one that I had laying around. So fortunately, that technically was not my last USB-C port. So it was charging on one side, not the other. So I knew that the bottom row of pins was good. So here I am laying down some solder on the top row of pins, the ones that you can actually see. I left them purposely not done, so that way I knew that if it charged, then the bottom row of pins were good, and I just needed to redo the top row, which is no big deal. But once you lay down the port, you can't access the bottom row. So okay, here we're looking at we're trying to get video out, and that's why you saw searching for signal. I was trying to hook it up to my capture card instead of through the TV, so that you guys could actually see, like, okay, Switch is displaying video. But I wasn't getting anything, so I went and checked these chokes, these HDMI chokes leading up to the PI3 USB chip, which is the video output chip. And I just checked for continuity on either side of the chokes. There are 4 chokes, and 2 lines through each choke. Check the continuity between each of those lines, and they're all good. And usually whenever you don't have video out, one of those guys is bad. If it's not the USB-C port. But most of the time, whenever you don't have video out after doing a USB-C port repair, it is because you didn't lay down the port right, and the bottom row of pins are not down correctly, and they're not communicating with the switch. So it's taken me a long time to get a feel for, like, okay, I laid down this port right. I'm probably gonna we're good on the video out, or this is probably not going to be good. I have a feel for it now. It's taken me quite a while, but so I wasn't getting video out. So I thought, well, I'm pretty sure I laid this down right. So here I'm just plugging in again, make sure both sides were charging, because if both sides are charging, that means the pins, at least the charging pins, are laid down correctly. So here I'm putting in a Joy-Con to pair it, so that way whenever I lay it down into the dock, because I just kind of gave up on the capture card after a while, once I laid it into the dock, then I could wake it up from sleep and then have it display. So I take out the Joy-Con, and here I'm letting it pair to the Switch. And a little bit of a spoiler here, I guess, but what ended up happening was, so the Joy-Con paired to the Switch because, it's a wired connection, but there's an antenna that runs from the Switch housing into the motherboard. And you're supposed to attach that housing, or you're supposed to attach that antenna whenever you're assembling the Switch in its entirety. And that antenna is the Bluetooth antenna. And that allows the Joy-Cons to pair. So what ended up happening was I put the Switch in the dock, and I was pressing that home button a fair amount of times, trying to get it to pair, and it just didn't wanna. You can see it right there. It's trying. It is trying, but it doesn't wanna. And then I ended up figuring out, like, oh yeah, it's it, antenna. Took me longer than I anticipated to figure that out. But yeah, so that's what I'm fighting with here. Trying to get it to pair. Jeez, how long am I... I really wanted that thing to pair. So it looks like I'm gonna try to hook it up to the capture card again. Yeah. Let me skip a little bit of this here. Okay, we're back. Sorry about that. I had done the editing beforehand, but it looks like I had kind of forgot to speed up some sections, so we were just kind of sitting there waiting for stuff to happen that wasn't really going to happen, at least for a while. So what I'm doing here is I got another switch because the housing on that one that we just did was really not good. So I swapped the housings essentially, but kept the LCD and touchscreen because the touch was good on the one that we were working on before. Touch good as in like the screen, like both touch screens worked, but just the one that we were working on before was in better condition. So I wanted to salvage that one and put in the other one. And then the right Joy-Con connector wasn't working, so you saw me take it off there. And here I'm just assembling it back. And I do all my switches in a custom housing and stuff, custom Joy-Cons. So you can see that it has a transparent pink back, which I thought was cool. And you can see the pink Joy-Cons there, and sorry for the lag, I don't know what's going on here. Too much processing power. So, yeah, there's a transparent back. I really like how that looks. So, yeah, that's what it turned out looking like. And I think that's it, yeah. Well, thanks for watching, and if you liked what you saw, be sure to give me a subscribe on the way out. Thanks.